This is a New York Glitch production. You are the worst.
Hello everyone, I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Next to me, we have the Robin to my Batman, none other than Robin himself.
Buzz, how's it going, everyone? Good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Comfy in your tights?
Ooh, super comfy. Thank you very much with the eye mask and everything. I'm ready. I'm solving crimes. Hearing stories. Just another day. Do you have a story for me today?
I do.
I'm excited.
Today we're going to be talking about Nancy Grace Augusta Wake.
Perfect.
Bunch of first names in there.
Yeah, I like all the names.
I'm telling you all right now, when I researched this episode, I had to spoil a few tidbits to Robin over here because I couldn't believe that she was a real person. He usually doesn't know what's going on
about anything
in the things
he's
learning.
Not just for this, just in general.
He's along the ride. He's along for the ride with you guys. But this time I had to spoil like one little thing. Anyway, you ready for this Her Story lesson?
Boy Wonder is ready.
Nancy Wake was born on August 30th, 1912 in Wellington, New Zealand. She was the youngest of 6 children, and her father, a journalist, moved the family over to Sydney, Australia when she was young. And then, shortly after the move, he left the family and sold the house. Forcing his wife and children to find a new home, they were left impoverished.
Oh, wow.
He's a good guy.
Wow.
Love him.
That story took a
hero of the
great
story.
turn. I know about heroes. He sounds like one.
The first chance she got at the age of 16, she left home. She found work as a temporary nurse, and luckily she was awarded a small inheritance from an aunt, and she was able to then leave Australia at the age of 20. With her inheritance, she was able to make her way to London. In London, trying to find a job wherever she could, she responded to a want ad for a freelance journalism job.
Nice.
Wake faked her way into being hired.
There you go. Fake it till you make it. That's what they say in the biz.
Yeah. Well, Nancy told a Hearst newspaper executive that she was fluent in Egyptian, knowing that it was his favorite topic. He asked her to demonstrate, and he read a passage to her and asked Nancy to dictate it. Even though she was wildly unqualified and did not, in fact, know Egyptian, she did know shorthand.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And traditional shorthand looks a lot like hieroglyphics to those who aren't familiar. And he then said, "Now read it back to me," to which she was able to do because she took down the whole passage he read in shorthand. So he just recited it, and then showing him this picture, this like page of notes that look like hieroglyphics.
She sounds
so
very
cool.
capable. She sounds very capable. I don't. She sounds overqualified for this position.
Honestly, really thinking on her feet. So while working as a freelance journalist for the newspaper, she was all about living the Parisian nightlife to the fullest. She was a spunky, beautiful, strong-minded brunette. In 1936, Nancy met a wealthy playboy, Henry Fiocca.
Yeah.
He was an industrialist from Marseille.
Oh.
Yeah. The two married and settled down 3 years later. The two were socialites. They were the champagne and caviar sort.
And they do sound fancy.
Yeah.
You know.
And when asked why she was attracted to him, she said, "He was tall, he could dance the tango, and if you dance the tango with a nice tall man, you know what eventually will happen, don't you?"
I mean, that's just some good chemistry right there. She knew automatically.
I love it. It's so fun. I love the tango.
I like dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dancing in the street. Dun, 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 dun. While on assignment in Vienna in the mid-1930s, Nancy bared witness to roving Nazi gangs randomly beating Jewish men and women in the streets. Then and there, she promised herself that, quote, if ever the opportunity arose, I would do everything I could to stop the Nazi movement. She also said, "My hatred of the Nazis was very, very deep." Life was about to make an incredible shift, and quickly. The Germans invaded France in 1940, and here was Nancy's chance to make good on her promise. Her wealth and social standing gave her somewhat of a cover as she helped members of the local resistance groups. She was initially an ambulance driver, and then she also found that if she flirted with German soldiers, she could get through certain checkpoints.
I like that she used her social status and position to help the people.
Yes.
And also she knew how to work those men.
Yes. But she
those
also...
soldiers.
Yeah. Oh, silly, right? And she also knew, though, like, she knew that she had a duty in her standing to use that.
She had a responsibility, for sure. Of course.
Quickly, she became a trusted courier and escort for Allied soldiers and refugees. She said, quote, "It was much easier for us, to travel all over France." She knew. She would hide people in her home and then leave them over the Pyrenees to safety in neutral Spain.
Excellent.
She would also pay hefty bribes to get prison guards to free people who had been captured by local authorities. By 1943, occupation authorities had become aware of her activities, so Nancy had no choice but to flee France. Her husband, and the man she later referred to as the love of her life, stayed behind to settle some family business, but promised to meet her in England afterwards. Nancy fled, but Henry would never make it. I'm getting all sad.
I know, that's unfortunate.
He was arrested, tortured, and then murdered by the Nazis after he refused to reveal Nancy's whereabouts.
Wow. I mean,
that's a ride or die if I have ever heard one.
Yeah.
And a true
That's a good partner. I mean, they were in it. They were in the good fight.
And they were dedicated to this cause that they didn't have to be dedicated to. They weren't at all being the ones targeted.
Yeah, and they
still knew it was part of their fight.
I mean, they had to. Yeah.
It took several attempts, but Nancy was finally able to make it to Spain on the back of a coal truck. There had been an earlier incident where Nancy was forced to jump from a moving train, and she drew gunfire from German soldiers as she was trying to escape.
Oh, that's awesome. On some Calamity Jane.
Oh my gosh, she's like so cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That sounds like a movie, though.
Yeah,
that sounds really
exactly.
cinematic. Like, that scene in particular
James
sounds
Bond?
like a whole movie.
What's happening?
Better than that. Moneypenny.
Oh, yes.
Moneypenny, yeah.
In England, Nancy was accepted to undergo training in the British Special Operations Executive. They were an intelligence group working with the French resistance. She spent 8 months there training in weapon handling, guerrilla warfare, and hand-to-hand combat. She said, quote, "I don't see why we women should just wave our men a proud goodbye and then knit them balaclavas."
Yeah. I mean,
she's like, "What? No, I can fight in this too.
We're people of the country as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's no...
We can be utilized in more ways than
I don't want to die. I don't want to die making pastries. I need to fight.
Yeah.
For my country.
Exactly. In April 1944, at just 31 years old, Nancy was called to duty. She was among 39 women and 430 men who were parachuted into France to help with the preparations for D-Day.
From Spain. She was part of the... Oh, I'm sorry.
In Spain,
right.
But that's where their headquarters were, yes. So they were parachuted.
Oh, I thought they were part of the... Oh, that's still cool, though.
Yeah.
That's still cool that they arranged all those people to go in. Oh.
So she collected night parachute drops of weapons and ammunition, and she hid them in storage caches for advancing Allied armies.
Crafty.
I know. She was also able to set up wireless communications with England, and she also... just like harassed the enemy while she was at it.
Wireless communication and then trolling the Nazis.
Yeah.
She sounds really funny.
And when asked if she was afraid, if she was ever scared, she said, "I was never afraid. I was too busy to be afraid."
Yeah. See, yeah. League of her own.
I know. In order to gain the respect of the men around her, she would regularly challenge them to drinking contests and would wildly drink them under the table. On the same token, she reportedly didn't go anywhere without her Chanel lipstick, face cream, and a favorite red satin cushion.
Well, you know.
One of her colleagues in the French Resistance said, quote, "She is the most feminine woman I know until the fighting starts. Then she is like 5 men."
Wow.
I know.
That's...
Oh, she's a hero. She is so... Oh. Nancy was able to plan and execute a successful raid on a Gestapo garrison and an arms factory in 1944.
Impressive.
The Gestapo had placed a large bounty on her head, and she was able to evade capture and death, which was really something considering that 1/3 of the 39 women serving in the British Special Operations Executive in France didn't come home. So 13 of the 39 didn't make it.
Wow.
Do you even need further proof of how much of a badass this woman was?
I would love more. Not that you haven't already proven it, but it's always nice.
There was a German counterattack against the Maquis that disrupted communication lines. She covered 200 kilometers by bike over hostile ground to give and receive messages. Wow. She slept in haystacks or in the open during her 72-hour journey. She was able to successfully reestablish radio contact with London. Remember her hand-to-hand combat training? She apparently killed a man with her bare hands. With an insane karate chop to the neck.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah. Robin is very impressed with those techniques.
Yeah. Robin. She also showed no mercy in general. There were 3 French women that Nancy suspected might be German spies. After interrogating them, she was satisfied that 2 of the 3 were not spies, but the 3rd had a different fate than the others. Oh. She sentenced the 3rd to death by firing squad. Woof. In an interview with an Australian newspaper in 2011, she said this of the incident. Quote, "I was not a very nice person, and it didn't put me off my breakfast. After all, she had an easy death. She didn't suffer. I knew her death was a lot better than the one I would have got. And if I hadn't done it, and she had got away and reported to the Germans what the Maquis were up to, how could I have ever faced the families of the Maquis de Sades who we lost because of it? It was definitely the right thing to do." The German military described her as La Souris Blanche. Do you know a little French? Any guess?
You know,
Pull out that Duolingo.
I honestly do want to venture a couple guesses, but I can't.
Just one.
Can you repeat it again?
La Souris Blanche.
Okay, she's the Surrey something.
Nope.
Right? Is Surrey's not the name of a place? No.
No. Oh. Souris.
No.
The white mouse.
Oh, Blanche is like yeah.
And Souris. See, it would be if you had read it, I think you would have gotten it.
I think so, but maybe not also. I don't know. 50-50. I do crime fighting mostly. That's my thing.
Right.
That's my aim.
Right.
Yeah.
Robin over here. So the white mouse is what that translates to. She was nicknamed this because of her ability to elude capture. She had numerous close calls between 1940 and 1944, but was always able to give her pursuers the slip. After the war, Nancy was never quite able to figure out what to do with her life. She said, quote, "It's dreadful because you've been so busy and then it all just fizzles out." She worked briefly for the British government. After that stint, she returned to Australia, where she unsuccessfully ran for public office in the early 1950s. While in Australia, she married retired Royal Air Force pilot John Forward in 1957. That's a difficult sentence to say.
John Forward.
Yeah. Right?
That
and he's a pilot.
Sounds
Well, they had a long and happy marriage. He passed away 40 years later in 1997. Nancy once again made her way to London in 2001. Her life had been used as the basis for numerous film and television productions. You can't make that sort of life up. And there's so much that I didn't even go into. She generally approves of the adaptations, but one specific one she had major qualms with was an Australian documentary that was released in 1987. She took particular issue with the insinuation that she had love affairs during the war. She said, quote, "And in my old age, I regret it. But you see, if I had accommodated one man, the word would have spread around and I would have had to accommodate the whole damn lot." But she's not wrong.
I like how
she's so...
I like how she thinks of herself, because
she's just like, listen, I could have, wish I did, but I didn't. So say it accurately, and if I had, I'd have had to do them all.
But also, that's such a weird way to, like, that's such a dumb way to slander someone.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what
or
does that
just
prove?
Like, what
is that? What measure is that?
What a stupid plot line to add into a documentary that didn't even exist. Well, It goes even further. There was also a TV miniseries that aired around the same time that she was furious about. She said, quote, "For goodness sake, did the Allies parachute me into France to fry eggs and bacon for the men? There wasn't an egg to be had for love nor money, and even if there had been, why would I be frying it when I had men to do that sort of thing for me?"
There you go.
Honestly,
Get
she wasn't
out of here.
She wasn't hired as a chef, so why did they keep showing her as like preparing these meals? And she's like, "Guys, I was actually collecting the ammunition and also killing a man.
I was plotting everything and, make sure that we had contact with the army, over a course of 72 hours. I had no time to fry a freaking egg for a
and
soldier
also, you
that
think
was
we
sitting
had
around.
eggs?
Yeah, and also we didn't have eggs. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Where would we keep our eggs?
We were getting shot at all the time.
Yeah.
I had a bounty on my head. I did not have time to fry an egg.
Yeah.
For men.
Yeah.
Groups of people. I'm furious now too.
I
Damn.
know. I'm getting all sweaty just thinking about it.
It's annoying.
Oh my gosh.
Why dramatize it like
I
that?
know.
Her story's cool enough. There doesn't need to be like a romantic element or like a,
Or, well, I think it was so people could be more comfortable. They were used to seeing men cooking things on TV, so maybe it was something that they could, maybe they were like, to make it more realistic, we'll make her cooking something too. Like, get out. Ugh.
How could she have done all that?
I know. Well, Nancy received numerous medals for her wartime services, so much so that she claims she lived out her old age on the proceeds from their sale.
Ugh.
She was awarded the George Medal, which is Britain's second highest civilian honor. She was awarded the Medal of Freedom, which is the United States' second highest civilian honor. She was awarded the Légion d'honneur, which is the highest military honor in France that you can get. Mm-hmm. And Australia reluctantly and belatedly honored her, to which she responded like this: "They can stick their medals where the monkey stuck his nuts. If they gave me a medal now, it wouldn't be for love, so I don't want anything from them." She then sold it and donated the proceeds to charity.
I was going to say, I wonder if she had said, like, thanks but no thanks, but that's a better, more eloquent way of telling him to stick it where the sun don't shine.
She was like, nope. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. You won't be able to find any of her journalism work from her early years. Apparently back then, it was common practice to not publish the names of female freelance journalists, and most of their work was published under the name of their male supervisor.
I wonder if it was because of any bad luck or anything.
Get out. You're fired from this podcast.
Robin is confused.
She is absent from U.S. history books and journalism courses. Probably because she's not American, but also not a man.
That's absurd.
Think about
it. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I didn't hear about it in the global, in the history high school that I went to. Because we did a lot of history that we didn't, World War II and stuff. And
Nope. I don't think I ever learned about any women aside from Red Cross women.
Joan of Arc.
No, I mean like during World War II.
Oh.
I don't think I ever heard about women doing anything except for...
which is ridiculous.
The Red Cross stuff and Rosie Ricketts? Is that what her name is?
Rosie the Riveter?
Rosie the Riveter. Rosie Ricketts.
You know what the thing is too? But I bet if you go to other countries and you find and you read their stories about World War II or just other wars, like women probably may or may not have more or less of an
highly doubt really anywhere outside of like France.
I was actually thinking France too. That's so funny.
Even a blip in their
I'm
history.
sure the French have like. I don't know.
I would hope.
I'd like to think that there are a handful of other countries. I mean, even Spain regard a lot of their queens, even though the queens were like, we're just like not the most pleasant people, like not the fairest rulers, but like,
it's just so interesting though that even the fact that like, I don't know, it just feels weird. It feels weird to me that someone who literally like restored communications for this whole she was
wireless communication.
Part of D-Day.
What is that?
She was one of 39 women who were part of D-Day.
What would wireless communication look like in World War II besides like more
like walkies?
No, I know, but I'm saying like she had to physically do that for 3 days and like
and it's crazy to me. I want to see
a movie about that.
I think the biggest thing to me is literally she was one of 39 women and they haven't even like, and that's not someone that we've talked about before. Ugh.
They should do a movie about these women.
Let's write it.
Or at least a handful,
That could be really cool. Copyright.
You heard it
Her
here
Story
first,
Podcast,
so
New York
if
Glitch.
If you do it, we know. Robin knows all.
As a young woman, Nancy described herself as someone who loved handsome men, especially Frenchmen, and a woman who loves a good drink.
Oh, yeah.
Nancy Wake spent the last years of her life in a nursing home for retired veterans. You could regularly find her at a nearby hotel bar, the same bar that she had her first bloody good drink after the war, nursing a gin and tonic.
It's a classy woman.
My kind of lady.
I like that, yeah.
Nancy died at the ripe old age of 98 of natural causes.
Wow, good for her.
What a
awesome
life.
Oh man, 98. She saw a lot of things come and go.
Oh my gosh. And she's...
Yeah, I'm surprised that there's no movie. I mean, we have Saving Private Ryan. We have... like the Pearl Harbor movie with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Letters from Iwo Jima.
And this writes itself.
The new Tom Hanks World War II movie.
Tom
Hanks gets to be in World War II twice, and we do not have one female story
and
about
you know
World War
what's
II.
Crazy? This literally writes itself to the even so far as to the point where she faked her way into a freelance journalism job by writing fake Egyptian hieroglyphics, then being sent on assignment and seeing this Nazi warfare in person and resigning to make a difference, and then the war breaks out and then she's part of it. She's in the special ops. Oh my god.
Who do you off the top of your head, if you could pick like a female actress right now to play her, like her during World War II, so she was kind of young.
I know what she looks like.
Redhead, you said, right?
No, that's...
that's the...
this is a brunette. She's a brunette. She kind of, honestly... So I would want, like, an Emily Blunt. She's a little... she's a little older for this role, just because she's only supposed to be, like, 28 during most of this stuff. But, well, I guess 30. But,
who's the girl from... what's the name from Star Wars? Who played Rey? She would be super cool. I think Emily Blunt, maybe.
She's a little too nice. I think Emily Blunt, like, in later years.
Yes, yeah.
The second
later
half
years,
of the
yes. Absolutely right. When we see her in her older...
Ooh, she would be good. I think she'd be really good. What? When I show you pictures of what she looks like, that's actually a really good... I
want to remember her name, and I really can't, and I'm going to think about it until we're done with this.
As soon as we start.
If I remember it...
it's just going to be blurted out.
I'm not going to think about it until the next episode, and if I think about it anytime during the recordings, I'm just going to say it out loud. It won't even be relative to what we're talking about, but we'll all know. It'll be our own little inside joke. But I really think this just writes itself. I mean, it almost sounds so far-fetched with how crazy,
and it's so real.
The stories
just
are.
Incredible.
You
so much life that she lived, and unapologetically, but not in a malice way.
Sure.
I think it was
she was doing it for the greater good.
Sense of duty, and I think she was very candid. There's the word that I would think of as describing her. Candid. She's honest. She's like, listen, I wasn't upset about having that woman executed because she was a spy, and I know that firing squad was going to be a more pleasant death than the one I would have suffered had I, so I had so much fun researching her because she lives, I think a big part for me personally, when I'm researching and writing these, is that when they live to a ripe old age, and had a happy life after this major event, it's very uplifting for me, even through, I'm sure, what a harrowing journey she went through, but it's something where she lived to be almost 100 years old. And she was still, like, sitting there drinking her gin and tonic and is like, I love a man who dances. Yeah. Give me a French man who dances and a gin and tonic, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, she still sounded of, of sane mind, like, in her late years, which was like, she endured World War II.
And she was also able to still be a sass monster with Australia, who waited really long to even acknowledge. So she's a native Australian.
Yeah.
So that's why she was like, when they finally were like, okay, well, everybody else gave you an award, we'll give you one too. She's like, I don't care.
The fact that they even sounded like that when they said it like that was just ridiculous. It's like adding insult to injury.
It really is.
How dare you try to tell me.
That's why she was like, cool, I'll sell it, donate the money.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she totally, yeah. I'm glad she did that. So she was a boss.
Yeah. Any closing statements, Robin?
I can't wait until we write her story.
Until we write the movie.
Until we write the movie, or until we inspire someone else out there to write something about her. Yeah. There are many other stories like her that are definitely not told that should be, because,
And told well, not just, like, frying eggs in a weird, like, no.
Yeah, servicing men.
No unnecessary,
she parachuted really to cook for men. Like, no. That's what? That's my closing statement.
Especially, I think something that why she was so offended about the, like, having love affairs during the war was that she describes her first husband as the love of her life, and he didn't make it with her. Yeah. And he sacrificed himself for her, for the cause. And I think that was just so offensive to then, because that was so quickly after. He died, and then she was shipped over like a year and a half later. Mm-hmm. And to then have people saying that soon after you were just, like, sleeping with the rest of the platoon is so insulting. To be like, I'm sorry, look at the sacrifices that my family has made for this, and you're going to diminish it by saying love affairs were involved?
Yeah, I think every war movie that shows women only being in that subservient role is pretty lame, because that's just so unrealistic. Yeah. I mean,
it's one thing to portray them as bad. Like incredible nurses, and
even if they weren't fighting,
or if they've been hired as a chef, as a cook. That's different than women who have been brought into this for other reasons, to then still have them performing other duties that are not of like their that. Like, that's crazy.
Get out of here. Yeah. No, are you kidding me? Yeah. No. You know what?
Especially when the real life events are so much better than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What really happened is so much more interesting than her cooking eggs and having love affairs.
What they should have done was have, like, women be spies, because, like, if the traditional role, right, exactly, but, like, that should have been, like, more of a thought process where instead,
because it's so unassuming. No one's going to expect a woman to be a spy. It's like with what we talked about with Polycarpa.
Oh yeah.
Where no one expected anything. Mm-hmm. They just lowly servant. Mm-hmm. Lo and behold.
Boom.
Women doing stuff.
Yeah, so Robin's pretty content. That was a cool story.
That was a good episode.
Not all heroes wear capes, and not all heroes are men. In fact, most are not. Yeah. Right now.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna go fight some crime. With a mask on.
Thanks for coming, Robin. And thank you all so much for tuning in again. We can't tell you how much it means to us. Before you skedaddle, make sure you rate and review the show. It really helps the podcast gain a little more ground so that more and more people can be inspired by badass women like Nancy. You can follow us on Instagram at Women of Her Story Podcast, and you can also reach out to us via email at womenofherstorypodcast@gmail.com. Tune back in this Friday for an interview with artist Martha Tuttle. She is an incredible artist who creates beautiful wall sculptures that make you want to spend all day outside. Until then, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.
Bye.